all about this. It's a Bet HaMikdash we're speaking about today. The temple happens to be coming into the 3 weeks, and also Shiva Asar Tammuz, the fast of the 17th of Tammuz. As you can see over here, Bein HaMetzarim, also it is known as this very, very solemn time period in of itself. And we know that here it's coming here on Yom Rishon, here on the Sunday. We've been taught that there were 5 tragedies that befell the Jewish people on the 17th of Tammuz, and another 5 tragedies occurred on the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, which very much relate over in the Tractate of Ta'anit in chapter number 4. But why do we have to fast over these historical events that we ourselves are not responsible for? Furthermore, it should be pointed out that the 5 tragedies on the 17th of Tammuz were the beginning of the 5 tragedies that occurred on the 9th of Av. But if we are anyway mourning over the final tragedies themselves, why is it so important to mourn the beginning of the tragedies? Because we're fasting today, albeit it's not as severe, let's just say this fast as Tisha B'Av is. It's considered one of the 6 fasts. Now, a great rabbi of the name Rabbi Eisel of Slonim was once asked by a wealthy, let's say enlightened man, why we mourn the sin of the golden calf today. He replied, the sin of the golden calf was indeed a terrible one, but at least people were willing to give up their money for their God. Today the situation is much worse. People are willing to give up their God to make money. And it just shows the severeness of it. Now, the tragedies that occurred throughout our history, let's say, weren't necessarily freak occurrences, but rather repercussions of our insufficient spiritual efforts. Each year, we do not merely mourn the history, but rather mourn, let's say, our present status of continually diminishing spiritual efforts, and ultimately we repent and improve our ways. If we fail to do this, then we add sin upon sin and tragedy upon tragedy. But despite our continuous spiritual decline, each year we are given a chance anew to repent, let's say, our amended ways. Each year we have the opportunity not only to repent for, God forbid, the sins that we do, and their effects, but also to ensure that the full tragedy does not materialize. That's the significance over there. Also, during these 3 weeks, obviously, we're mourning the exile and destruction of the temples. But ultimately, though, we know that we will be redeemed and the temple will be rebuilt. And we even have, let's say, a divine promise about this to that effect. Furthermore, all is for the good is not just a Jewish catchphrase, but is also one of the foundations of Jewish belief. Now, another question is posed. If so, how can we mourn for the Bet HaMikdash if we are supposed to generally believe that it's also for the good and will be rebuilt? And in any case, we hope B'mehera B'yameinu. Many years ago, there was apparently once a law that was passed in the Israeli parliament permitting abortion. Let's say this is considered obviously a serious Torah prohibition. Now, the proposed reform at that point in time caused a stir, let's say, in the Jewish world. And the law was not passed eventually. But there was a story behind the scenes. There was an individual in a party called the Cherut party who was, let's say, responsible for trying to pass the law and was contacted few days before the law was to be passed. And he reluctantly at the time agreed to meet Rabbi Raphael Levine. Rabbi Aryeh Levine, obviously the Tzaddik of Jerusalem, Rabbi Raphael's father, he happened to be Rabbi Aryeh Did, person we spoke about on many occasions, had always maintained a good relationship with everyone. Let's say even anti-religious members of the Cherut party. So Rabbi Raphael agreed to attend the meeting, but only 2 days later. This was cutting things, let's say, a little fine. But nevertheless, all of the applied pressure and reasoning would not change his mind. The meeting would only be in 2 days' time. At the meeting, Rabbi Raphael requested to tell a short story. He spoke directly to the leader of the Cherut party and told him about a lady who once came to his father, the famous Tzaddik of Jerusalem, Rabbi Aryeh Levine, for advice about certain complications with the pregnancy, within regards to her pregnancy, and certain the complications were discovered, and other doctors over there instructed her to have an abortion. This is what happened. The rabbi advised her not to listen to the doctors, and indeed she had a healthy son. That son is you, concluded Rabbi Raphael. But the leader of Cherut party, he did not over here believe Rabbi Raphael, and even accused him of fabricating the entire story. Rabbi Raphael, Levine offered that he check with his mother, who was in an old age home. And so he phoned his mother and she verified the entire story. Needless to say, the proposed law was dropped. Of course, now Rabbi Stern of the neighborhood of Dvar Torah in Jerusalem asked Rabbi Levine why with a story like that he didn't agree to a meeting immediately. Why did he wait 2 days? A story alone cannot change anything, he replied. It was my 2 days straight of tefillah, prayer, that helped the story change the decree. Everything that we go through in life is ultimately for a reason. Sometimes, obviously, our experiences are even more important than goals. The journeys, let's say, Israel, throughout the wilderness, are introduced as follows. What happened according to the journeys, according to God, and these are the journeys according to what happened. It's pointed out, what happened according to the journeys is reversed to the journeys according, let's say, to what happened. In order to teach us over here that everything was according to God, both the journey and what happened. That's the importance of it. So these 3 weeks, we believe, obviously, that God will ultimately redeem us. But we equally believe He has also instructed us exclusively how we can reach the destination. Only one who mourns over Jerusalem will ultimately witness its happiness. So this is our current goal, is our journey at the moment. Heard this phenomenal insight and Dvar Torah from Rabbi Daniel Lehman. I think he's based in Jerusalem. So everyone, wishing you a safe fast, everyone fasting, meaningful 3 weeks. Hopefully we'll learn more about the restrictions and more within regards to 3 weeks in due course. Having a Shavua Tov to all of us and take care. Thank you for watching.